are just jumping on gigs regardless.
True.
But you have to have a brand. You have to have something you uphold.
Yeah.
If it doesn't align with me, I won't do it.
Yeah. It's as simple
It's not
as
even
that.
about the money.
Yeah.
I won't do it.
It's never about the money, actually. At least in my
Because
experience.
when you do it well, more money comes.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But it takes one small, wrong partnership for all of that to go down.
That's true.
So you have to be very smart. Okay, guys. The issue here is you are mad that I can say no.
Yeah.
I have the space to say no.
Yeah.
Which I understand is a privilege and I accept. But then again, it is. It's a privilege. Not everyone is going to have everything.
It's true. Unfortunately.
So what do you want me to do? I pretend that I am poor. I pretend. What do you want me to do? That's the real question. No, that's the real question I had.
Do you want to talk about that?
What do you want me? No, genuinely, what do you want me to do? It's hard for people to understand or fathom the fact that a young woman in this day and age in this economy can be doing well for herself. Like you feel like there has to be a man behind it. There has to be a rich family behind it. There has to be a sponsor behind it. Sweetheart, some of us are born hustlers.
Alhamdulillah.
It's not my fault. Right? I'm using my privilege and my blessings the best way I can.
Yeah. And the thing is, you know that whole saying of, oh, you were born with a silver spoon. If I was born with a silver spoon and I've turned it into gold, do something with your copper.
Do you see that? Like I said, there's one thing that I consistently always say is who you are will get you a seat at the table. Who you know will get your foot in the door. Right? So even if I had that silver spoon, that got me in the door. Yeah. But I backed it up. I backed it up with the knowledge. I backed it up with the presence. So that means they give me a seat at the table, not because rightfully they're just dashing it.
But then also this shows a lot to do with abundance and scarcity, right? A lot of people have this idea of romanticizing being a victim in their own lives. It's like every day I must struggle. That's the only way I'll be successful. That's
you lucky dudes born to suffer. No, I literally had the same conversation. And I was like, guys, there's even times where life is made easier for us, but we want to suffer. I'm like, why? Why?
You're like, wait, this has come too easily. No, accept it and run with it.
I am not going to complain. I'll be like, whatever God has put on my path. Why should
let's go. Let's keep running with it.
I was like, how are we going to spin this into something else? Use your blessing.
Like, be fucking
And even when I said I don't, when you don't lack, you don't chase. It's the truth of it. Because even this past, so I was at the ABH conference. And you have these entrepreneurs who have been selected from all these countries. And it's one of the most grueling processes to be able to get that money. And all of them are like, start with what you have.
Exactly.
Everyone is we need to get the funders, we need to get this. But in reality, everything starts with what you have in business, in life. So if you sit down and say, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this, when are you going to start?
And when will you realize what you actually have?
Exactly. When you're looking for what you don't have, you'll never realize what you have. You'll never be satisfied. Not even an inch of satisfaction of finding in your life. Don't be an ingrate in this life. There's enough problems in the world. You want to be ungrateful.
Like you can't be an antagonist against yourself in your own story. Like, what about the haters? What will they do if you're hating on yourself?
You want to join them? I have to be that's another thing. Being your biggest cheerleader, it's hard. But it's important because clearly we have seen that no one will come and give you the props.
Sure.
And especially being a young woman in this society. Yes, we've come a long way, but there's still more to be done.
Right.
And within that, there's a lot of people who still want to box a young woman in. You'll finish school, so when is marriage? Uncle, I haven't even enjoyed my first salary. You're already
let me live life.
Literally. And when I had this conversation with my siblings, I was like, it's hard for the older generation to look at us because in their 20s, most of them were already parents. 3 kids, 4 kids. You're kind of more or less forced into that life. And for a lot of them, it was survival. They didn't have the space to be exploring, So when they grind and give that to their kids, it's genuinely because they don't want us to go into that same narrative. So for me, it was like, I'm not there's times where I'd be like, should I say that I have this? I would be ashamed, not even ashamed, but kind of embarrassed to say that of what I have because I didn't want to make the other person feel the type of way. But I can't I can't help what I have. I can't help what God has blessed me with. But what I can help is how I use that. So for a lot of people, it translates into she's too ambitious. She's bossy. She's too prideful. She has a big ego. No, I have the space to explore. I have the space to know what I want and genuinely go for it.
Yeah. And also, I will say this with my whole chest, like it's kind of anti-Rwandan in its essence to not be ambitious, right? Imagine if Rwanda or
if we stop
the management of the country, right, decided not to be ambitious. Oh, we can't grow this much in 30 years. Where would Rwanda be? Do you get? Like, how dare you say, oh, young people can't be ambitious. You can't be too ambitious. No, listen, it's too ambitious. Like, where will the country go?
Who's gonna do it?
Like, do you get? Who's gonna do it for us? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, in order for us to show gratitude for the people who fought for this country, we actually have to work hard
to be ambitious. Because when they start retiring, who do you think is coming?
Yeah, and also at the same time, like, imagine you not being grateful for the country that they've built for you, the kind of life that you've
the privilege that comes with as well.
You managed to go to particular schools and stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, you have to be grateful. Like, they really went through it.
And it would be ungrateful of me to not pick up that mantle.
That's what I'm saying.
And even like, if you look at people's personal stories, a lot of our parents like were inflicted, and even our grandparents. So for them, home is a place that they had to leave and build outside wherever they go and have some form of home. We have had the blessing of growing up home,
in this country,
safe and sound. I can go to school, I can walk around, I can do whatever I so please. And that's because somebody decided to sacrifice themselves for that.
Exactly.
Like, if you look at most of the people who are fighting on the front line, starting with even our own leader, most of them were under 40. Even 35, like they were in their 20s. So if I now sit in my mid-20s and I'm just like, you know what, it will come.
Let me chill.
It will come. You think for them, they waited for it to come?
That's a big issue. Wait, I feel like we started by jumping.
We jumped passion.
I just want to say, if you're new here, welcome to Golden Africa, and welcome back to those who are not new here. As you already know,
family.
we keep things going. Exactly. The conversation was already good. It was heated, and we just kept on rolling. But I just want to say thank you for choosing to spend your time with us. And if you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning back into Golden Africa. There's a lot that's been going on around town about this fine babe here. If you don't already know her, this is Zuba Mutesi. But if you don't know her, like, do you live with Patrick, like under the sea, under a rock, somewhere in there? Do you get? So we were talking about abundance versus scarcity. We're talking about privilege and what it takes for someone to be ambitious, what it takes for someone to actually show gratitude. In this current political and economic
heavy on economic climate.
Do you get? Because to us, it's kind of abnormal. It's kind of abnormal for someone to get a gig and refuse to show up. It's kind of abnormal for someone to say, oh, we're underemployed, we're young people, we make majority of the country and whatever, we're underemployed, we have a degree and whatever. But at the end of the day, if I put you on, you're not showing up on time. If I put you on, you're coming underdressed. Do you get? Like, you're throwing it straight into my face. So let's kind of discuss what not necessarily youth unemployment, but let's talk about being ambitious versus being an ingrate.
Sarah. I shake tables today. Anyway, it's okay. I'm not just shake tables.
That's the goal. Like, honestly,
but
we are the voices of young people. We are young people ourselves.
We are actually, like, in the coming years, the youth is the leading population on the continent, not just in Rwanda.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's up to us to kind of tell our own stories, right? And of course, we're not speaking for everyone. In fact, we're not speaking for anyone else except for us.
Yes, please. Right? All views shared are my own and not to be imposed on anyone.
Exactly. But if the shoe fits,
lace it up and wear it.
That part. So yeah,
let's get into it. No, honestly though, I feel like it's such an elephant in every room, you know? Because even when you're trying to help the youth, it's difficult. So over these past few months, we've been having hello events, there's people coming in. And consistently, what I've heard, and it saddens me to hear this, and to a certain extent, I also had to agree, is that you Rwandans don't know how much you have. Like, you don't know. Your level of entitlement is mad. Because when you go and you look at places, I'm not even going to go far. Kenya, Uganda, TZ, the hustler mentality is different from what we have here. You find someone who's young, work a 9 to 5. They have a little side hustle. Either, there's one, my friend, how she makes mandazis, sends them out to different offices. You see that kind of, it's like, what can I do with what I have that's going to up my ante? And we already know the current economic status is difficult.
What income is not enough?
Exactly. The cost of living is insane. So, quite frankly, I don't think there's many people who can live off the salary they make in Rwanda. Right?
If you're lucky to have a salary.
If you're lucky to even have a salary. And that's the reality. I have to call a spade a spade. So if in that moment you feel you're unsatisfied with that, what are you doing with it? You are going to post quotations on Twitter? You want to be, even PK talked about this. He said, you, the youth, you say you want jobs, you want to do, you're in the church. You're not going to drop your CV. Who's going to drop it? I'm not going to use the line of God helps those who help themselves. No, God will put you where you need to be. But God works also when you work. He doesn't use an empty vessel. You have to be a vessel that's ready to work. So for me, I always ask myself, like, if you are unhappy with where you are, how much are you doing with what you have to change that situation?
And also, what's your contribution to that?
Exactly. Because when you sit down and ask yourself, like, this is where I want to be. Wow. Okay, let's say, Sarah, you want to be the biggest podcaster on the continent, right?
Amen.
Inshallah.
You wake up more Muslim than me.
Sprinkle. So let's say that's your goal, right? You say, these are the people who are my competition. Then you sit down and say, I'll just post. No strategy, no nothing. Do you actually feel like you get to where you need to be? No. Because if you use what you have, Sarah, you have your background, you know a lot of people, you're well connected, you have a stacked CV.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. You use that to your advantage. If I know someone in this space or in a market that's different from mine, I'm going to go to that person and be like, yo, how can I learn from this? Like, what do you know? Do you know any other key players in that? And that's how you get around. And people were so mad when I said impact drove my income. It's the truth.
It's the truth.
Because how else can you... I came back home in 2021, right? I've really not been out here like that for a long time. So for me to be where I am, it's not because I make... noise. I have billboards all over the city telling you, come look at me. Yeah, I'm not going to get... So, for me, that just goes to show that it's the impact. It's the work that I've done. It's the person that I've portrayed myself to be. And people find value in me. There's an added value in working with me. And I do my best to communicate that in whatever I do. Because if you know that this is my standard, I'm not going to drop it. Because not all money is good money. And if you're chasing all money, that means you stand for any and everything. Meaning that you can be...
fall for anything.
You fall for anything. Even scammers will come and take you. But when you stand on your standard and you say, this is where I want to be, this is what I have, this is how I'm going to use it, you start moving. But not a lot of people have that. Because people are like, when is the government going to do this for us? Bro... How much can the government, like, what are you doing? Honestly, what are you doing? Okay, you pay taxes and then what? Like, you see people who are like, no, the government needs to do this. The government needs to do this. And you find a lot of people don't even read the fine print. They don't read about how this can help you, how this law can help you, how this... No, they just wake up in the morning and they say, because you're the Minister of Infrastructure, you must come and fix all the...
It's such a crazy phenomenon to see people who are saying that they're from... a point of, okay, I need help, right? But then they're refusing the help or throwing it right into your faces, right? Because even those ones who are saying, oh, the government, what will the government do? With Jirinha, I don't know if you actually followed through to see what happened. The government was doing this initiative of giving one house per... Exactly. And then some people had the audacity to say, you're giving us cows, but we don't have cows. How will I feed it? Like, be for real right now. Like, how exactly will someone help you if my helping hand is being cut off? If you're saying, oh, your hand is not
cow,
pretty.
you want the feed, you want the shepherd, you want, what are you bringing? Are you just housing the cow?
Do you get? Like, be for real. Do you get?
So because they've given you a cow. A cow can do so much.
Exactly.
Feed it, you'll get milk. You'll get manure. A lot of people on the countryside rely on farming.
Yeah.
So tell me, what more do you want? You want them to give you the cow, the shepherd, the feed, they give you how to plant.
Yeah, they milk for you.
They milk, like, they sell.
Yeah, it doesn't
like, what are you at? No, when people say, they like to say, oh, women are the ones who they ask. Genuinely, like, across the board, what are you bringing to the table?
Right.
And people just, I feel like also in this society, it's the status that's attached to it that makes people think that because I don't have status, there's nothing I can bring to the table. Babes, there's a lot of people out here who walk in a room and say, this is my idea, this is what I need, and they get it done.
Exactly.
It's not because they're so-and-so's child. It's not because, you know, they're the smartest person or they've been to the best schools, but it's because they believe in their source enough and their work and how much they're ready to put into it that they can go forth and pursue that.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and say, Jesus will find it for me, give God a break.
Yeah.
Give God a break.
Yeah. I mean, God is generous at the end of the day, and He will support you.
Sometimes
wherever
I wonder,
you are.
who does God go to? Because imagine someone waking up and they have things going for them and they're like, oh God, I wish.
Yeah. It goes back to the gratitude and being an ingrate, right? If you're tweeting at the government, at the president, saying, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, you're tweeting from a smartphone. What are you doing with your phone? Like, you're creating a successful career just with your phone. It's not because of, I don't know, what country you studied in or what family you were born into or whatever. It's the mere fact that you're looking at what it is that you have. Before you even get a camera, you're using your phone. Like, this thing can do so much for yourself.
I'm looking around. Simple iPhone.
Simple, yeah.
Well, and okay, so you get the point.
Yeah.
You catch the gist.
Yeah, but if you're so tied into being a victim and you're still attached to romanticizing your victimhood and you'll forever be a victim, you'll forever struggle and whatnot, then you'll be like, oh, but you're privileged, you have an iPhone. And okay, what do you have?
People think they always tie privilege to like you're just born into wealth. No, man, I get my hustle mentality from my mom.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't born into wealth. I was raised by a single mom.
Yeah.
And we grew up in the house of 17 kids because like a lot of my cousins, like my mom's siblings passed on. So we grew up in the same house and I consider them my siblings. My mom, after the refugee camp, you can name it, from frying mandazi to selling popsicles to running a hotel to now, you know, running one of the most successful handicraft businesses in Rwanda. It's not because I grew up with a silver spoon. I grew up seeing her hustling.
Yeah.
My mom used to go to Gitarama Mujimana to go see the baskets, and I would go with her.
Yeah.
And you know, from young, I would ask those questions because I'm rolling around in a car. I'm rolling with my mommy. She's coming to see her weavers, blah blah blah. Yeah. And you see these kids coming out from school, and you look at the conditions they're in, and I'm like, what makes you different from me? Yeah. You know? So even from then, like, I understood my privilege from early. Yeah. So that's why I had that battle of, should I be embarrassed or should I be like hide it?
Yeah.
Or how can I spin it? What can I do with it? So I grew up seeing my mom hustle. Like, the type of person who would like literally be gone for 3-4 months away from her family, making ends meet. Yeah. So even for that, when people say, oh, you grew up with this. No, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I grew up with a mother who's a hustler, who's a businesswoman, who's a powerhouse. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So for me, when you grow up around such, even my sister, like, I cannot help but be great because I stand on great shoulders. Period. I stand on incredibly talented and powerful women's shoulders. Yeah. So even for me, I'm like, what legacy am I carrying on even for my mom? My sister has daughters now and they're like my babies. So even for me, when I look at myself, I'm like, I want you to be fearless enough to know that when you walk into a place and you know exactly who you are, no one can shake that. True. Regardless of who they are, what they do, no one can shake you when you know who you are. Yeah. And that comes from that gratitude of saying, this is who I am, this is where I come from, this is what I have, and this is what I'm going to do with it. But if you sit down and sulk, Like, I get it. Not all of us are born in wealthy families.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, we're literally, there's a small, like, margin of people who are born with that privilege. So, to a certain extent, yes, it's unfair. It's unfair because that's how the world is unfortunately set up. But what is even more unfair is you sitting and sulking in your position.
Yeah, but then even that statement saying, oh, some of us were born into wealthy families, we weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah, even that, we weren't.
Like, you guys just see people now and you
it's
assume.
a working class family, but they're working their way up. Like, do you want people to just be working just to stay stagnant? That's one. And do you want us to kind of denounce the kind of shoulders that we were privileged to grow up like on? Do you get?
It'd be also like kicking my mom.
Exactly. Imagine.
You worked hard for me to go to these schools. You broke your back for me to do all of this for me to just sit and...
Like, be for real. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the sooner, if you're someone who's watching this and you have this whole idea of romanticizing your victimhood, like, stop. Do us a favor. Do yourself a favor and stop. Because
you stay in the same place.
Exactly. Let's say you do succeed, right? What would you want your kids to do? Like,
even then, like, people who say, oh, you stay, like, that's stagnancy.
Yeah.
What am I working for? I'm working so that if I'm at this level, I move to this level.
Yeah.
And as the levels increase, the standards goes up now.
In fact, me as me, I want generational wealth for my children.
Hallelujah.
Do you get? Like, imagine me saying, oh, I want my wealth to stop here. It doesn't make sense. I want generational I want generational wealth for my kids. Do you get? And at the end of the day, if we want that, you'll be able to tap into your own network in order to get your kids something.
This is a wild reference, but Offset said in one of his songs, he said, my kids gotta have money, not just me. They're selfish.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest line.
Yeah.
Because well and truly, when your parents work hard, especially even my mom has always been very frank. She'd be like, please, when you go out there, don't come and open your mouth saying, oh, I have this. Everything you have, you're my beneficiary.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You have it because of my blood, sweat, and tears. And I acknowledge that 100%. I will never be the one to come and open. You don't know who I am.
Yeah.
You don't know who my mommy is.
Like, what if they don't know?
Ask your papa. But, like, it's wild for me.
Yeah.
So for me, I've never had that entitlement of saying, like, oh, because I have this, I can get away with this.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Everything I have is by the blood, sweat, and tears of my mother and by God's grace. And we continue from there.
Now, let's talk about what you're doing for yourself based on what you've been blessed with, right? And what I mean by what you've been blessed with, I mean the
This is Sarah's way of saying, I want you to talk your ish.
Right exactly. Because at the end of the day, people kind of see
one side.
Exactly, one side. You're only seeing like one reel you've posted. It's less than a minute long, and you're already assuming what a person is, what they're doing with their lives. And even this privilege that you're talking about, you don't know exactly what it looks like. Do you get? Some of it is soft. It's not even hard cash. Actually, most of it is soft. Do you get? It's more like, oh, you have loving parents, you have a loving parent, you have siblings. Even having 17 siblings, that's a privilege, because at the end of the day, this is
we're a network.
Everyone is pushing you, even if it's just $1 each. Like,
and me being the youngest.
Exactly. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
But
so what are you doing with your career? What kind of career have you been building for yourself?
I guess it starts when I was 15. So I've had the blessing of being able to start getting into thinking of what I want to do with my life. So when I was 15, I won Miss Geek Africa. And that is like the tech side of me, which I was always passionate about because of the gender disparities, right? I always wondered, like, how can it be like male dominated? As in, women, they should have brains. My sister is, who's this? Yeah. So that was where it all started. So I was exposed to like hella professional settings, because imagine I was 15 at the time. So winning that, being part of the delegation that represented Rwanda, the IT telecom world. So I'm walking around with like the PS and who. I'm 15.
Yeah, that does something to your head.
Like surrounded by business moguls, like you have the likes of the Hewlett Packards, the Jack Ma's, all these people around you. And then, also being put in front as, one of the stories that portrays random. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So from then on, that, I already had that tech thing going on for me. Went to uni, did 1 year of computer science, but at the same time I was doing comms, and comms just is sweet so much. Yeah. So I made the switch to comms and marketing, and I did a concentration in gender and women's studies as well. So for me, like blending those two, it was like colliding all my worlds into one. Yeah. Gender and women's studies, because my mother's work revolves around women's empowerment, economically, everything. Yeah. So growing up, seeing also like how, it was sensitizing a woman to getting her own bank account and not relying on her husband, or simple things like that. Like seeing how things that are basic to someone who's grown up in a more privileged setting is completely different from even like a grown woman who's like 40, 50. Yeah. So seeing those things, just like, okay, I want to be able to bring all of that into one thing. And I'm also a storyteller. I started writing my blog in 2018. She turns 5 this year. I'm so excited. So bringing that also was a way of reshaping a narrative that I wanted to change, which was mental health. We still have a lot of work to do when it comes to mental health, not only in Rwanda, but the continent across the board. So communications was my way of being able to bring all of my worlds into one place. So my professional background is comms and marketing. Yeah. I moved back home in 2021 and I started my job with an NGO, actually. I was the head of comms for a little bit. But... Yeah. And it was just an interesting experience, because that's also my first introduction to the Rwandan corporate world. And yeah. I saw Shaggy, I saw Days. Yeah. So it quickly showed me, okay, this is the space you want to be in. This is how you want to work. But you have to refine where you're going to do this work. Yeah. So I left the NGO and joined an agency. And that agency... character building, but the knowledge and like the skills I got from there, honestly, 100%. Where I work, shall know who you are. Shout out to you. So that knowledge led me to now work for myself, right? So I'm setting something up, and most recently I also became a restaurateur.
Like, be for real.
So guys, come to Biggie's. Yeah? A lot of people think I'm just promoting. I'm promoting
your own thing. Yeah.
So it was also the empowerment of like my mom. So being around my mom, and so my mom and her sister run the business together. And a lot of the times they're like, but you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And even my auntie, who's also my godmom, like literally like my business soundboard, she was like, look, you have all of these skills, events you're doing them, MC you're doing them, you do comms, you do social media, like, do your own thing. Yeah. It's time to invest in yourself. Do your own thing, because you have clearly noticed certain things that you want to change within the market. Yeah. You have the capacity, you have the background for it. Do your own thing. I was like, that's it. Yeah. I like that. So right after my birthday, I resigned from my 9 to 5 and just jumped into things.
As you should, because at the end of the day, you really have to have skin in the game in order for you to actually be successful. Because when you're working for someone else, there's a cap to what you can do. There's a cap to how much you can make. There's a cap to everything, really, how you show up and everything else. But when you're working for yourself, you're not gonna eat if
I'm not showing up.
Like, everything is really up to you. It's up to how much input you put in order for you to get something back, right? And also realizing that still at your previous job, you were doing crazy work, right?
Sarah, I've seen it.
No, I have seen it. Like, me. I was seeing the schedule. I'm like, how?
Guys,
where?
Let me tell you something. When you try to come for me, but I don't know what hustle is. You try and work 2-3 jobs in one day.
Paint a picture also actually about the day, like the schedule. You're saying someone is
like,
you rolled out of bed and you're successful. No, you're waking up at what, 4 a.m., 3 a.m. every day. you do one job, it ends 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Skip
from
to
there,
another
9
one.
to 5, which is now starting from 10 to 6, 7, 8.
Then you leave there, you have to see a project.
Like, be for real.
So that's even why I had to leave that space, because I'm like, when am I going to fund my own dreams?
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
You're also getting burnt out at the end of the day.
Because it got to a point, I remember in December of last year, I was so done. I was so over it.
Yeah.
Because I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You know? You have the expectations of one job, the expectations of the second job, and you have your own expectations of the things you want to be doing, right? So at some point, I'm like, should I be taking a backseat in my own life? I don't think so, right?
Not at all.
I have to be my own priority. And of course, there's somebody who's going to go and tell their parents, they said, don't work. No. I'm not saying don't work. That experience is needed. It's very crucial, because it irons out certain kinks. Because even, you see this thing that's going on Twitter, I learned that from an agency. I worked with an agency that has, global and, local clients, holding like different clients from different, but one of their, part of their motto was doing good work with good people. And part of that is knowing what aligns with your brand. Yeah. And it all comes down to the standards you set. Yeah. So had I not been in those settings and been able to see even how my bosses interact with certain people and certain situations, or even addressing certain challenges, I wouldn't be able to bring that, experience into me doing my own thing. Right. So I'm not an advocate for you not looking for a job and just jumping into something. Yeah. Do your research, do your due diligence, get as much experience. Yeah. And another thing I hate when we're talking about the abundance and versus being Scarcity, an ingrate, is there's people, funny enough, when I was looking for interns, there's people who would tell you, I can't be an intern. I need to be a social media manager. I need to be There's someone who I once even interviewed. They said, I want to be in your position. So I said, you've come to replace me. Okay, fine. I was like, okay, first of all, shout out to ambition. Yeah. But for you to even be offered an opportunity and say it's below you is insanely wild. Right? Yeah. I've been in apprenticeships, job shadowing, not paying me a single coin, but strictly because, number one, I wanted to learn. Number two, I wanted to get those connections. When they say your network is your network, they meant it. Because a lot of the people that I've worked with and have done good work with are the people who have brought me everybody else. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because they see there's a standard that Zuba communicates, there's a standard at which she operates. This is what you expect from her, and this is how she'll deliver. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And with that, you know that it's a sure deal. Yeah. But for some people who feel like a job is less than them, how are you even going to get to a point where you can say you have a standard?
I'll disagree with that.
Shake my tables.
Yeah, I will disagree with that, because at least in my career, the way my career has kind of panned out.
First of all, shout out to you. I have to give you a flowers while we're still there.
Thank you.
Honestly, Sarah, from the first episode you did with Eunice, I was like, who is this babe? Yeah. And I looked into it. Sarah is a boss babe. And it makes me so happy to see you really stepping into that and doing your own thing. We need more gold in Africa. We need more people to document our stories from our points of view and not from 100%. The colonizer's point of view. So
colonizer's point of view. Yeah. That one.
So shout out to you for creating this space and being that person. It's not difficult. I mean, it's not easy and it's not that difficult.
I was like, not difficult.
No, it's quite difficult. Yeah. But you make it look quite easy.
Yeah. And alhamdulillah, I think it's because of the way I've kind of taken my own narrative as well and championed it, right? I champion for myself, right? Some people are getting to know Gold in Africa just now, saying, oh, there's this new podcast, they're popping off. I've been doing this for 3 years. 3 years. This is the, 56th episode. 56th. Do you get? For someone to say, oh, Nine, you get? I won't even repeat their words because it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Right? Again, we have to be grateful for where we came from, for what we were blessed 100%. With, being able to talk. If you can talk, if you can create a career out of talking, Go do it. No. Some people do say, oh.
But it's still like wild for our parents to understand that you make a living from talking.
Like, alhamdulillah.
Right?
Like, we don't have to inherit the same problems that you did.
Yeah.
Do you hear it?
She said inherit.
No. It's true. No. Like, my dad understands it, alhamdulillah. But he has a few friends who are like,
tell your dad
just talking. Right?
He's so cool. Honestly. Alhamdulillah. Sarah's dad?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. I disagree.
Yes, please. Oh, yeah, I disagree.
Yeah. I disagree in the sense that, okay, if the person who doesn't want an internship has like a resume to back it up, the fact that they want an actual job, then
now
valid if you 100%. If you don't,
that's the thing. The people who say it are those who don't.
Yeah,
the people who actually have the CVs that are capable are the humble ones who actually say, even if I come for like a week or two.
Yeah.
And that's the wild part for me.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to kind of address, right? Myself, I don't think I've done more than like 2 internships, right? Because after the first 2, I was like, I've learned.
Yeah.
Everything else, I'm gonna get paid to learn, right? Because at the end of the day, the kind of skills that I was bringing to the table, the kind of communication that I was bringing to the table, the kind of access to the market that I was bringing to the table was enough for me not to be an intern, right? And that's something that I was always telling people I was studying with at uni, who are always, even up until your 4th year, you're still applying for internships.
Yeah.
Like, be for real. Put some value. Put some value to your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at the end of the day, an employer is not going to be like, oh no, you're actually better than an intern. No, they will milk you dry.
Like, they're trying to save their coins. You think finance is going to fork out some more money?
Yeah. Capitalism thrives off of you not knowing your value. You know?
Say it again.
Capitalism thrives off of you not knowing your value.
So everybody who's out here dragging me, I want you to listen to that.
Yeah.
Because that's also how these foreigners will come and run a muck in between us and devalue us.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you that if whoever approached me was approaching somebody of a higher caliber who has more influence than I have, it would have been different. Exactly. It would have been a different tone.
Yeah.
If it was a Muzungu. Let me say it, because you lot like to do this favoritism thing. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Because you cannot tell me that you want your industries to thrive when you're not giving your own people the opportunity.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me you want your creative industry to thrive when you're not highlighting your creatives.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So in that sense, like, if, let's say, there's 2 of us, there's 2 influencers. Let me pick somebody who is big, who is a female tycoon. Let me take Nomzamo. Nomzamo is a powerhouse, right?
Through and through.
She is an ambassador for global brands. So exactly.
It goes on
so
and
now
on and on.
You have small Zuba, and there's someone like Nomzamo, right? So I can guarantee how they'd approach Nomzamo is different from how they'd approach me.
Yeah.
But I think the approach shouldn't be any different.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to business. Because both of us, there's a certain value that we bring, right? One may be able to quantify it higher than I, because obviously there's micro influencers, there's macro influencers.
Yeah.
So we're both on different calibers.
Yeah.
But being on a different caliber doesn't mean that the respect should change.
Yeah.
Respect should be across the board.
Yeah.
The dignity you give me in my work is the dignity I'll give your work.
Yeah.
If you can't dignify me from the onset, the introduction, I can only imagine what it's going to look like when we get into the work. So when you have a standard and you say, this is what I hold myself to, people take it as ego, people take it as pride. And I can understand that because maybe you have not had the space of being able to decline and accept and whatnot.
Yeah.
I've been put in a space where, and also I have to also fault some creatives, because the industry doesn't give us a lot of space. So you kind of go to wherever there's money. So I feel like there's people who are used to any influencer will go in. No. If you have a particular brand and that's your niche, there's certain things I cannot do. Like if I'm a mental health advocate, what do I look like promoting an alcoholic brand? It's counterproductive, right?
It is.
I cannot advocate for your wellness and then come and tell you, oh, buy this whiskey.
Yeah.
How?
So let me just cut off from there. I feel like we're already jumping into it without kind of giving context. A lot of people are listening to this conversation or watching this conversation without actually understanding what's going on, right? A backstory.
Context.
It was yesterday.
It was quite literally yesterday.
Yeah. Just yesterday.
Yeah.
Someone in the middle of the night reaches out to you. Hi, Z.
11 p.m. Hi, Z.
Middle of the night. Hi, Z. How are you doing?
Then proceeds to call me.
Yeah. Without answering.
Yeah.
And then you say, who is this? This person now goes on to introduce a bit of themselves. Just the name. By introducing,
they said, this
is not
is
even,
who, this is so-and-so, and we're reaching out about an advert, call us. I was like, okay, who'll give you my number? Because I do have my business channels.
Yeah.
So when it's my personal number, I'm just like, how did my personal number get in your hands?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So this person reaches out, I'm like, yeah, you know, who gave you my number? And that's where kind of things went down. Yeah, so this person reaches out to me, 11 p.m. Maybe my mind calls me that late. So 11 p.m, hey Z, how you doing? Who's this? They do a brief introduction. Hi, my name is Sarah. We're calling about an advert. Give us a call. I'm like, where did you get my number from?
Yeah.
One of your clients.
Yeah.
And first of all, my client, I'd be like, which one of my clients?
Yeah.
Because people got angry that I asked which one of my clients. But my point of view is most of the time when someone gives a reference, and almost all my clients, they'll tell me, yo, I referred you to this and this. I hope things go well.
Yeah.
And it's really a point of being grateful to that person. Yeah. It's half of business is relationships.
Yeah.
When you build good relationships with people, more business comes.
Yeah.
So it was also one of those I'll be grateful to this person and say, yo, I got this reference. Shout out to you. And we keep it pushing. And then the person also got defensive. They're like, Jesus, we'll find somebody else to do the job. And I was cool.
Yeah.
And I just took that opportunity. I was like, in the future, if you're trying to do business with somebody, the proper way to approach this would have been, hi, my name is, I was referred to you by, and we would like to do, please give us a call.
Yeah.
Right then and there, you would have had my attention and the right attention at that, right? But you've already started hi Z. That's already, you're too familiar, number one. In a business, that's the thing.
It's crazy.
People overlooked everything else. In a business interaction, even people say, oh, there is proper channels. This person got my profile from Instagram.
Yeah.
My Instagram literally says, business inquiries.
Yeah, Nandi, I had to do my research. I went back to your profiles. All of them, they have your email.
They have a way to reach me.
Also, another thing, putting myself into the picture, the way I approach boundaries with my friends, my networks and whatnot, they reach out to me before
they give out my number.
Exactly.
That's why it was also another red flag.
Yeah, who is the leak?
My personal number.
Exactly. Because also, and something that I've noticed,
people don't understand how people mismanage people's numbers. I've been harassed. There's a man who used to call me.
Yeah.
Being called at the top of every hour to hear nonsense. To a point, I even blocked the number. They used it again. So when people were blocking our privacy, it's also for a reason.
Exactly.
My personal number, who knows where you're going to put it?
Exactly. There's a reason why we have business emails. There's a reason why we have business numbers. There's a reason why you have to go through the proper channels.
And I prefer an email because I like having
a clear track record.
Exactly. I need a track record. I need the devil's in the details.
Exactly.
So if you write to me an email, that means I can backtrack if there's ever a misunderstanding. That's why all my business, I handle it through my written.
Yeah.
Because we have to have a written understanding. Either I'll send you my rate card, I'll send you my media kit. All of that, that is a professional interaction.
Yeah.
But even from the onset, that was already a red flag. I was already turned off.
Yeah.
And one thing about me, Alhamdulillah, I'm not lacking.
Yeah.
So there's particular jobs and spaces that I will not occupy because I know, number one, if my heart is not in it, I will not do it. Because if my heart is not in it, I'll not do a good job.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm, in a space where I have the space to say, I can decline this, I can take this. And, it's a privilege that, actually, it's not even a privilege. It's something that I've worked for.
Yeah.
It's not a privilege.
You've earned it.
Exactly. Yeah. I've worked for it and I have the space to say, I can take this, I can't take this.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's a brand. A brand has to align with everything it does. There's nothing that I will promote that I wouldn't use, that I wouldn't want. There's no one I'm going to work with that's going to represent something I don't do, I don't use, because I keep in mind my audience. Is this salient to my audience? If it's not, then I'm not going to take it. And even when you look at these big influencers, they'll tell you, like, for you to get to where you're going, in anything, even in business, what is your niche? What are you giving people? Why is it that people... Exactly. So if I drop that standard and start working with anyone, person, that drops my brand.
Exactly.
That depreciates the value.
Yeah. And I've noticed it's so interesting to see that the people who are kind of attacking you for showcasing how not to harass people that you want to work with. By the way, that's harassment. It's in the middle of the night. Like, why are you shouting?
Social harassment.
He wasn't even shouting. Like, why are you shouting in the middle of the night at me as if I have to work for you?
But if all of you who said, I have the space to decline. So if I took that opportunity, does that mean we're all employed? Like, all of you literally came and you're like, oh, yara has. Yes, Nadianes. And then, I eat well. I do not lack for anything by God's grace. But you coming to tell me that, oh, you're so full of yourself for declining an opportunity. If I take it, will that mean that you're also employed? Will you eat from it?
Yeah.
No. So if I take that opportunity and it depreciates my value, I'm taking food away from my plate.
Yeah.
And that's something that people don't understand.
Also, as a girl's girl, you have to understand whatever you say yes to, you're saying yes to other women. So if you say yes to that kind of treatment, you're saying yes to other women being treated that way.
Because if from the onset you can even say, Jesus will find somebody else to do the job.
Fine, go find someone.
Thank you.
Go elsewhere.
It's
really as simple as that. I don't understand why.
Because I know I'm not the only one as well.
Exactly.
I know that there's not
so many talented individuals in this country.
Like, I will even refer to you.
In fact, do you want a list? Do you get?
So for me, it's also like, if you can accept yourself to be spoken to like that, do you think they'll give you value when they employ you?
Absolutely not.
Because they're like, I talk to her anyhow now, even you just
anytime,
do whatever. No,
call her
you
any
communicate your standard and you uphold it. The only problem you enforcing a standard is if you don't uphold it. If you're enforcing a standard just to say I'm enforcing it, and it's just then of course stop. But if you're imposing a standard but you also back it,
So from your perspective, Nyine, as an influencer manager and as an influencer, like, how do you kind of navigate reaching out to people, like shooting your shot, but then also showing up as a person, right? Like, like a PR person who's reaching out to people, but then also as an influencer, standing up for what you believe in and basically crafting your brand.
So I'd say from the influencer standpoint, like managing influencer standpoint, number one is having a niche, like knowing your market and what you're known for. It's much easier to grow a brand when you know what you're standing for. If someone cannot explain who you are and what you do in simple terms, then you need to refine a few things. So I think from influencer standpoint, also having like your professional things in place, having your rate card, knowing how much, you work for, having your media kit, which shows, it's basically, a media kit is basically your CV in the creative world, right? So having simple things like that will also put you on top of the game, because the influencing and social media, like influencing, is still on the come up in Africa, on the African continent. So it's still new.
But especially in Rwanda.
Yeah, here it's very, very fresh. And because it's fresh, people have a lot more leeway, but you have to use it wisely. So I'd say number one, having your professional things in place. Like if it means like having your headshots, having your media kit together, having your rate card together, having like a business email, having like all of these things, and having uniformity in what you do. Like if someone engages with you on Twitter, it's the same on Instagram, it's the same, like it's the same tone, you're the same person across the board. Then on the other side, like the PR side, the engaging side, I'd say the number one thing is doing your research on the person as well. I feel like some people don't do the research on the person, and sometimes you reach out to a person because, they have the numbers, therefore they'll bring us the impact. But having numbers doesn't mean it's going to be salient to their audience. If it's not salient to their audience, you're not going to get the impact you actually wanted. So doing your research about the influencers you're wanting to work with and seeing what kind of work they do and the people they represent and if they will truly align with your brand.
Right.
And then once you move from there, you have to be able to look at what do you want them to do. There's people who say, oh, we want you to promote our company.
Yeah.
But promoting a company is so vague.
Yeah.
What about it? Because within a company, I'm sure there's like strong suits and there's places of amelioration. So in that place, you'd want me to promote those places so that they can join the others that are on the same level. Yeah. So I'd say, knowing that numbers or like someone having 200K doesn't necessarily mean that they have the engagement you want.
It doesn't convert all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some people who have their calm 50s, 90s, and I'm one of those people. Like, I don't have a crazy following. I don't have like 100K, 150s, whatever. But the work that I do, the people that I work with, clearly there's some value that I bring to them that they see why that partnership is worthwhile. Yeah. So being able to understand that, it's not always the numbers. You have to actually look at how this person engages with their audience and what their audience engages with.
Exactly.
Because at the same time, you also don't want to be spending money on something that's not going to... Exactly. Yeah. And then last but not least is, have a format for how you communicate. For example, when I worked with the agency, and even now, like, I don't always get the opportunities coming to me. I also reach out to people for those opportunities. Yeah. But even me, when I reach out, for example, I'll say, hi, my name is Zuba. I am in the creative industry. This is what I do. I would love to collaborate with you on ABCD. This is how I believe I'd be able to bring value. Yeah. If you'd like to discuss this further, let me know. Yeah. That's literally how I actually started working with Zuri. Yeah. I reached out to them and we've still been going strong and we're still, forming different things. Yeah. And it's because of the value you bring to someone. Yeah. But even for the people who reach out to me, right? They'll say, okay, hi Zua, we've been following your work. We've enjoyed this and this, giving examples of my work shows that I'm just not a name that you've picked out because I have the numbers. Sure. So they'll be like, hi, we've seen you work on this and this, and we'd love for you to come in and work on us with this campaign or this and this. The campaign will cover A, B, C, D. We believe you can bring A, B, C, D. Yeah. Let us know how we can, further discuss this collaboration. Yeah. Right then and there, even when you give me that rough breakdown, I can tell you whether I can undertake it and whether I can't. Yeah. So even from the onset, when you're trying to work with someone, be frank, be direct with what you want from them. Yeah. Same way when you're interacting with other clients, whether you're being business, whatever, you're straight to the point. Yeah. I need you to review this document. I need you to... So same, I want you to present this campaign that will be promoting A, B, C, D. This is what we believe you can add. Yeah. And we go from there. From there, I can say, I have the space, I don't have the space. Yeah. Let's talk.
Yeah. Something that I've learned from all this is make it easy for people to work with you. And it goes both ways, right? With you having your business email in your bio, with the client having everything listed down, exactly what you want from the influencer. But then also something else that you've mentioned is you both have to have a formula. You both have to have like an outreach email that's basically standard. Change the name, change the specifics to that influencer or that business, but then make everything else like specific to that particular
person. Yeah,
exactly.
Because a template is not restricted. Exactly. You can just adjust.
Yeah. But the beautiful thing about a template is it removes nuances. It removes the kajaja out of all of it. You get, like, there's no space for you to now come and disrespect someone. Exactly. There's no space for you to insert your own personal agendas, you know. Also the last thing that I will say to the people to the men who are disagreeing, especially, men don't understand what women go through as they try to create their successful careers, right? We go through a lot. I'll give perspective. I am fully covered up, right?
Like full on hijabi, like 100%. You'll never catch her without
exactly.
a hijab.
You won't catch me slipping. And wherever you see my content, I mean business, right? When you talk to me. Already last week, I had a few people, which is not one, few incidences of people who are reaching out to me for business, only for them to flip it around and ask me, oh, what are you looking for in a husband? Be for real. Do you get? And this is me, as covered up as I am. I'm not smiling in my content. I'm not chilling. So now imagine someone like Zuba. Like, per hour, how many? per hour, per day.
I'll show you my DMs.
That's what I'm saying. Like, people need to exercise discernment, but then also empathy. You have to understand women go through a lot. At least when you're reaching out to them.
They like to say, oh, we need to create space for women, but then you're also
what are you doing? Yeah. Like, if someone is saying, oh, I've been harassed, like, at least reach out the right way. And all you're saying is, oh, you're just lucky.
Yeah, because
I'm
going to be so honest with you. Some of the things that you lot are saying, it would classify as online harassment, honestly, cyberbullying.
Yeah,
because there's somebody who went as far as to bring like some video, like an interview I did about, like, you know, discussing my mental health, depression, and you want to bring that and throw it back in my face.
Yeah.
Jokes on you have caught me in my healed era. You have to come stronger than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, like I said, it's very hard for people to understand that in this day and age, a young lady can hold her own.
Yeah.
You know?
And
it's even those ones who actually say, but then a man will come and, no. I stand firm in who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone else who comes after that has been placed there, not because I'm incomplete. Right? It's because you are an addition. You are value added. Right? And I feel like for a lot of people, you're operating from a place of incompleteness. You're trying to complete it with all these other things, and if it makes you feel better, or you're roasting me, please feel free. If that is your release, feel free. But you're not gonna always meet a Zuba.
Yeah. But what I will add to that, I feel like, honestly, you're very professional with how you
people think I'm just jokey, I dance, and they're like, hey, guys.
If you're living vicariously through other people and you're seeing them online, you think you know them, so you have a say in how they control their life, in what they take in and what they don't. Like, spend that time productively, build up your career, build up your life. Stop trying to live vicariously through other people. Live your own life. Go out and say yes to those opportunities if you have them. If you don't figure out how to
number, go and take the opportunity now.
Exactly.
Literally, it's there.
Yeah.
And it's on a public profile. So if you feel that I did wrong, please take it from my hands.
Exactly. And you have to understand, okay, of course, there's some things that you might have overlooked. You did blur out the name. You did forget to kind of
I'm not even going to lie. That one I'll allow. Honestly, I said 100%. I take accountability
until someone pointed it out.
I was so livid.
Yeah, because you cut it off at the top, right?
Because I thought that's where it stops.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, even then, like, people who harass other people, like, they need to be outed sometimes. Do you get? Like, in this sense, it wasn't on purpose.
To be honest, and a lot of them
happened.
Let me tell you, some of you need to exercise shame, because a lot of you have come to my timeline and are saying you're roasting me, but you're also in my DM saying, Zuba, we love you. Pick a side.
Pick a side.
Pick a struggle.
Yeah.
Do you hate me? Do you love me?
Yeah.
Pick a side.
Yeah. And also the people who are, the women in particular, who, I had an incident earlier this week as well, right? There were women, people were attacking me for choosing to cover up and choosing to be successful while covering up, as if that's a problem. As if that's a problem.
How dare you cover up and make
But the thing is, I see the same names that were kind of standing up for me, trying to knock her down. Right? Which is crazy, because at the end of the day, if you're saying you're a girl's girl, are you only a girl's girl when it makes sense? Exactly. When it makes sense for the token biased girl? Dig it. It doesn't make sense.
You see, the thing is, that's why I didn't take any of this personal, because dukunda bjahiye, regardless, we like bandwagon. And it's good thing to get out of that chigare mentality, because sometimes, even if, I'm going to hold my hands up and say that I could have handled it with a bit more grace. I will allow it, because I've never been a person to shy away from accountability. But one thing about it is, especially for the women. Now, let me start with the women. Some of you are mothers. If somebody comes and approaches your child like that, I would hope and pray. I would honestly hope and pray that you do not allow your daughter, your sister, your wife to be spoken to like that, regardless of money. Listen, money doesn't dignify who you are. It is what you do with that money that dignifies. Even the richest man, Jeff Bezos, he has money, but people know him as a businessman. They know him for the work he has done with the money, not because he just has money. So I think for a lot of people, especially for the women, I hope and pray that you don't value yourself at where, like, the highest bidder can talk to you anyhow. The highest bidder cannot talk to you anyhow because that's how we ended up being colonized. That's how we ended up in all these spaces. They've taught us so well that we need to like be dependent, that when you're independent, you're basically going against the status quo, which is uncomfortable. So the sooner y'all learn to be uncomfortable in that, because it's uncomfortable to go against the norm. It's uncomfortable to be the person that speaks up in a society that's more worried about what will people think, Like there's so many times, even people will come and be like, oh, why would you say things like that? Why would you talk like that? Why do you have tattoo? Why do you have this? Why do you have that? It's uncomfortable being that person. But it's something that I do proudly because I know that I'm living my most authentic life. That even if God says today is your last day, there's nothing in me that says I regret anything. And there's nothing I didn't do. What I've wanted to do, I have done. And in doing, I have failed and I have learned. But I'll never be the person who's going to sit and sulk in my misery or say, because I'm a woman, I can't do this. Or because I'm a woman, I'm not going to do this. Like, a lot of these people didn't fight for you to come and someone talks to you anyhow and you sit down. PK said it best, but I think it flew over your head. So let me run it back. Agachiro ni wowe ukiha. Let me say it again. Agachiro ni wowe ukiha. Not the person who's going to give you the most money. But if you come and I tell you I'm worth $1,000 per hour, that is it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'd love to kind of end off on that beautiful note. You're the one who gives yourself the value. You're the one who sets the precedent for other people to kind of reach out to you. And also looking at it from a Pan-African standpoint, like at the end of the day, it's you, it's your people. And if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything.
You're like water.
And it is that very note that we end this episode. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. And I hope that you actually take some knowledge out of it. I hope that you take some value out of it and implement it in your own life. And if you feel like you were attacked by this episode in any way, shape, or form, you really have to sit back and reevaluate what your values are, what your standards are, and how your approach to life is basically affecting your life, right? Because at the end of the day, if someone standing up for themselves attacks you, that means you're part of the aggressor. You know, that means you're supporting the aggressor. That says something about you more than it does about the victim, right? And on that note, therapy is accessible. There's different therapists around who
get a mentor professionally.
Exactly. Do something. Seek knowledge. Read a book. Do something.
Touch some grass.
Benefit. Exactly. Thank you so much for choosing to
be sure to subscribe because there's plenty more greatness and goodness.
Yeah.
Many more African and Rwandan stories you want to hear. And there's nowhere else you're going to hear it.
Yeah.
But gold in Africa, baby.
And as always, stay gold and go get it.